Hey everyone, it's Jacqueline. So, quick update. I am again on my way to the gym soon. But you know, it's usually when I'm about to go to the gym, I'm starting to get up and do things, and I actually gave myself a keratin treatment this morning in my hair, well, a smoothing treatment. You know, I live really close to where I work, and so I did my hair this morning. Anyway. So, and the other night went well from my last video. I hung out with people, the people I was telling you all about, but nothing ended up happening because they're all 20-year-olds, and it was actually a horrible experience. So, it wasn't horrible. I proved that I can still go out and hang and whatnot. But we went to this, it was supposed to start at like 11, ended up starting at 12 because we had to go to a birthday party before. I mean, the whole thing was just a mess. And then when we got to this shitty club thing, it just hit me. It just reminded me of exactly why I stopped going out. I was like, I forgot. All it is like just trollops dancing to the same music every weekend. And the whole thing was supposed to be some like glow event, and nothing in there was even glowing. So it was a complete waste of time. And but there were some interesting things that, okay, so as far as that guy is concerned, he oh yeah, that's what I wanted to go into as well. Okay, sorry, I'm having random ideas as I go along for which topics I want to discuss. We'll go to it very quickly. So with this guy, I didn't know. He ended up leaving because he's having fights with his girlfriend, which I did not know about. But dude's texting me all the time to hang out with him and his best friends, and they all live together. Him and his girlfriend and all these other people. And I realized, I was like, oh, this is why hanging out with 20-year-olds is just a disaster. It is a no-no. So, because they don't even know who they are. They haven't figured themselves out yet, you know? So, for me, it was just like, oh. But I will say I ran into people that are my age group that were still at the clubs, that I used to hang out with at clubs, and they were at this thing. And they were like, wow, we haven't seen you in like 6-7 years. I was like, I know, because I kind of grew up, you know, and stopped going out to this bullshit. And I'm not going to lie, like everyone in my age group that I was hanging out with, I was like, wow, y'all look rough. Like, and then it hit me, I was like, oh, they've just been partying the whole time. They just never stopped. So in the last, I would say, probably like since the age of probably 30. I'd say I just kind of, and I'm 37 in November, I just kind of stopped going out and partying. I love going to bed early. I have a different needs and things that I love. And it's just very interesting at how priorities change and values change and stuff like that. I mean, anyway, but me and this guy, he keeps texting and I don't know what's happening, but usually people in this age group, below the age of like 30, they're all polyamorous anyway, so they're just sleeping with whoever they want. And so, yeah, I don't know if I even want to get involved with that. I'm actually kind of exhausted with humanity, and that's what's going to lead into my next topic. So someone had asked on my last video about children and how I feel about children and babies and whatnot. And let me put it this way. Children love me. I don't know why. I think it's because I don't coddle them and I talk to them like they're like 70-year-olds, like they're adults. I talk to them like I would you guys, just like this. I don't coddle them. I don't try and baby them. I straight up look at them in the eyes and I talk to them like they're adults. And the reason why is because they like to be treated that way. They're playing the game of manipulating their parents. And there's a reason I don't want children. Well, other than like my thoughts on humanity as a whole, but I don't think anyone should be having children. I know a lot of trans women. My ex-girlfriend was like so obsessed with having children. She even looked into like, you know, science and stuff like that on where they were on womb transplants and to be able to carry your own child. And I'm like, oh, for God's sake, like, just go adopt a kid. Like, I honestly think that having children is one of the most narcissistic things you could do. It's so selfish, and And most of the time, like, if you look back at people's lives, it's they meet each other, they're having a good time, they get bored, they get engaged, someone ends up wanting to have a baby as well, or they buy a house. It's always the same storyline. It's just this step by step, step one, step two, step three. And then they end up disliking each other. Maybe one cheats, maybe one goes and does something. And so then they think, how can we possibly repair this relationship? Let's have a baby. Ugh. And so let's just sweep right over the problem. It's a very Southern thing to do, actually, where you just pretend everything's going to be fine. So I can't tell you how many male clients I've had that I do their hair that come to me and tell me that their girlfriends want babies. And it's phenomenal. It is shocking at how many there are. I've had like 3 or 4 that their girlfriends have forced them to have babies. They didn't want babies. They didn't even want to get married. And then the next thing you know, they're pregnant, and then once they have the baby, they've been married and they've gone through the, you know, engagement and then the wedding, and then they've had the baby. Now they're bored out of their minds, and the child is fine, everything's fine. So then they want a divorce, and then it's mental health problems that are not being addressed. And I think the majority of humanity has some very serious mental health issues, and they put it into all these things that they think are going to make themselves feel better. So when it comes to my personal feeling of children, if I had the money, and we're talking a lot, like substantial amounts of money, I would have a child. And the reason why is because I would want to travel. I would never have a child if I could not expose them to different cultures for long periods of time. Different languages, different cultures, different countries. I would want this person to be exposed to the world and its ways. I would like my child to be exposed to politics at a young age so they can understand the difference between socialism and capitalism and communism and all the differences and how these countries work. Because I think a lot of people in this world, specifically Americans, their families never really tell them no. They never tell them what to do. They just want them to shut up. And so what they do is they're like, yes, we'll just buy you this. Yes, we'll just get you that. And then whenever someone judges their child or says, I don't know, your son's an asshole, then suddenly it's like Armageddon. Like their child is being attacked and their child is perfect and blah, 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 blah. And it's just, I grew up in South Africa with a very different system where they, you know, we even got caned in school when I was growing up. They used to use the cane. And when I came to America, I got paddled the very first year I was here, and I laughed at the person paddling me. I was like, this is it? Like, and I was like, oh, this is pathetic. And so I laughed at and then I got detention for like 2 weeks. But of course now you can't even touch a child, but still. I think the majority of parents have never told their children no. And for me, I wouldn't, as I've gotten older and the way I am with my health and fitness, I regret, I think like my child wouldn't eat sugar. Like processed food would not be in the house. It would be only whole foods. Fast food wouldn't even touch their lips, like ever. I would be so, and then of course parents always say, like for example, you know, I exercise a lot and I'm around a lot of people who have kids, and they're like, oh, if I just had someone to make my food for me, or a personal trainer just to like, you know, just tell me what to do, then I'd be fine and I would do it. And I'm like, these are all things that you lose when you make the decision to have children, especially if you're not a millionaire. Like, you lose all of those choices because that child becomes your everything. Now, I do believe something that is different between cis women and trans women, because I know a lot of trans women that want children, but cis women will lose their fucking minds to have a child. They will poke holes in condoms. They will do anything to have that child. They will freak out. It's a maternal instinct, especially when they start getting older, like 30 to 35. They start to have this like panic meltdown that they're drying up and that they're, you know, whatever. I'm like, maybe you should work on yourself a little bit. I don't know. Go for a meditation retreat. Go like, you know, work on yourself and learn more about yourself. Because statistics show the more educated you are, the less likely you are to have children. Because you're too busy enjoying the world and working on the world and working on things to stop and say, I need a child. Because I think it's just such a selfish act. It's for narcissists. It's, you know, it's for people that want, you know, to make another one of themselves. I'm like, I don't want 2 of me. I really don't. Plus, it would weird me out. But if I had a child, I would become obsessed with that child. And that's why I don't want a child. Is because that child would be, I would build them up in such a way that I would be expecting like freaking, like, I would want to introduce my child to aliens if they ever came to Earth and said, hey, throw us one of, you know, your species so we could check it out. I'd be like, here we go. I've got one right here. I've been working on this one for a long time. Like, that's how I would be with a kid. Like, they would have to have the best of everything, the best education, traveling the world. My kid would be spoiled as fuck. And I don't want to have a kid that's, but I would also try and keep them very down to earth. Like, I'd put them in neighborhoods that were low income. I would try and like expose them to people without money so that they could have empathy for people without money. See, in America, there's this thing where they think, oh, you just need to work hard. And then suddenly you're going to have everything given to you. In certain situations, yes. I believe that in situations like exercise, morbidly obese in this country is absurd. It's gotten out of hand. And we tell ourselves, oh, we're fine. Like, you know, that's genetics or, you know, something like that. That's why it's like that. And I'm like, that's the only area where I'm like, yes, if you work hard, you can achieve this, like that area. But when it comes to stepping up a ladder into society and going from like low class to middle class to upper class, there are certain limitations. If you are a black person in this country, statistically, it shows that you're more than likely not going to get up there by a massive percentage. So it doesn't matter how hard you work. For example, my stepfather was actually an air traffic controller for a long time, and there's forced retirement and fantastic retirement pay and health insurance. And he wanted a job that was going to be just a side job to keep him busy. Nothing fancy. And he started working at Walmart, and he was doing, dairy packing. And I actually went to visit at this time. My parents live out of state, and I went to go visit them. And he came home and his hands were cracking and from the cold in the dairy packing thing, and his nose was cracking and bleeding. And every time he would try and complain about it to people that he worked with, who were all low-income black people, none of them would say anything. Like, he would try and be like, this is ridiculous. Like, what do I do? And none of them would even entertain the thought that this was shitty. The reason why is because they know this is as good as it gets for them. So there's no point in complaining about it because it just makes it worse. So my mom, who hasn't worked since she was probably like 38, you know, my age. And so she was like, well, maybe you should ask the manager if he can put you in another department, like packing at night. And so he's like, you know, I'll do that. He went back the next day and they fired his ass. They were like, you don't like it here, get out. And he was just like, I've never been fired my whole life. Oh my God. And it's so much work. And it's because he grew up privileged. And so Americans in general are some privileged, lazy pieces of shit. I just have to say it. Like, a lot of times we like to pride ourselves on being like tough, and we have this idea of America, but Americans in general are not tough at all. They're on the brink of, you know, strokes and heart disease, and they're eating garbage all the time and drunk and unhealthy in general. I mean, mentally unhealthy. They like capitalism, which is a total scam. It's like a pyramid scheme. Anyway, it's terrible. So basically we are in one giant, what is it, Avon calling. That's what America is. America is like one giant Avon calling. And it's embarrassing. So when it comes to having children, no. I am not that much of a narcissist. I am a narcissist, but I'm not that much of a narcissist when it comes to making another one of me. And bringing you into a world with this level of climate change and corruption. I mean, we just had fucking Donald Trump as president, okay? I mean, and now we got Joe Biden, who's literally like Donald Trump, but everybody thinks he's not because they just want to believe that they didn't vote for someone as bad as Donald Trump. So why would I ever want to have a child in this world? You know, and everyone's like, well, you have to understand some people want children. No, I actually don't understand why people want children. And so people think I hate children because of my standpoint. Like, one of my coworkers thinks I hate children. I'm like, no, actually I like them. I just don't have time for the coddling bullshit. And whenever people see kids, they're all like, oh, hey, look how handsome. And the child's like, oh, fucking spare me. And I'm like, I know, right? Look at these people. Like, they talk to you like you're stupid. You know, so those are my reasons for not wanting to have babies. And have I ever had that maternal pull to have a child? Once or twice. I've seen kids, like, I've watched movies and I see things, I'm like, that's a cool kid. But there's no guarantee you're even gonna have that cool kid. More than likely, when you hit menopause and your child is 16, you're gonna fucking hate each other anyway, so what's the point? And then you're going to have to spend the rest of your life trying to repair your relationship. So, yeah, anyway. And then you have to deal with them with the possibility of doing drugs. I was doing heavy drugs at 15. Heavy drugs. No one knew. I kept it secret. So when I see a 15-year-old, I'm like, I know what you're up to, by the way. Like, I'm not stupid. You think you're cute. You think, you know, your little outfit and the way you look and you get your little car and your friends. I'm like, I know what drugs you're doing. Like, I'm not stupid. So, but parents are stupid. They think their children are special. They're not fucking special. No one's special. So, yeah, that's my interesting little take on babies. I like that topic. My last conversation, my last video, someone was like, tell us what you think, like, what you're feeling on children. Yeah, no. Human race is a failure. So, no, I'd rather not contribute to adding more to it. I'd rather support, you know, animals instead. Anywho, so I hope y'all are doing well. I am going to finish my delicious cup of tea, and I am going to go to the gym, and then I'm actually going to buy furniture for my workspace. I've been given control to redesign my workspace, which is kind of fun. Okay, y'all have a great day. Bye.